In the quiet, dense forest, a small dog cowered in fear, her body trembling and eyes wide with terror. Abandoned and alone, she had been left to fend for herself in the unforgiving wilderness, with no one to protect her. The world around her was dark and full of strange, threatening sounds, and with each passing day, she grew weaker. But little did she know, a stranger was about to change everything. A man, walking through the forest as part of his daily routine, stumbled upon the frightened dog. He could see the fear in her eyes and knew that something was terribly wrong. Despite her shyness and hesitation, the man's instinct to help kicked in, and he knew he couldn't leave her behind. What happened next would not only change the dog's life forever, but also restore the man's belief in the power of kindness. The journey of rescuing this terrified, abandoned dog would be nothing short of transformative for both of them. Stay with us as we uncover the incredible story of how one man's act of compassion saved a life, and watch the emotional reunion that will leave you speechless. Luna was once a happy, playful puppy, full of life and energy. She had a home, a family that loved her, and a warm bed to sleep in at night. Her owners, a young couple, had rescued her from the shelter when she was just a few months old. She quickly became their shadow, following them around wherever they went. Luna was playful and affectionate, her wagging tail always a sign of joy and trust. But as time passed, things started to change. The couple moved to a new city, and soon after, their busy lives and hectic schedules began to take a toll on Luna. She was often left alone in the house for long hours. The once vibrant puppy, who had been the center of attention, now felt the sting of neglect. Eventually, Luna's owners decided they no longer had the time or energy to care for her. Rather than find her a new home, they made the heart-wrenching decision to abandon her. One cold, lonely morning, they drove her far into the woods, where she was left behind, alone and terrified, with no idea of what had just happened. The forest was a harsh and unfamiliar place for Luna. It was vast, dense, and filled with sounds that made her skin crawl. The first few days were terrifying as she wandered aimlessly, unsure of where to go or what to do. The air was cold, and food was scarce. Her once sleek coat began to lose its shine, matted with dirt and leaves. Luna had no idea how to survive in the wild. Every noise sent her into a panic. The rustling of branches, the calls of birds, and the sudden movements of small animals sent her running in fear. She had no idea how to hunt, and every day seemed like a new challenge. Luna's health started to decline. Her ribs showed through her thinning fur, and her once bright eyes became dull from exhaustion and hunger. But through it all, Luna held on. There was a part of her that refused to give up, a small spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, someone would find her. The loneliness and the fear were unbearable, but Luna still remembered what it felt like to trust, to love, and to be loved in return. Daniel, a kind-hearted man with a love for nature, often took long walks through the woods to escape the stresses of daily life. He had been living in the area for a few years, enjoying the tranquility of the forest. His morning walks were his time to reconnect with himself, surrounded by the towering trees and the sounds of wildlife. He wasn't expecting to find anything unusual that day. But as he ventured down a familiar trail, he noticed something strange, a flash of movement behind some bushes. He stopped in his tracks, his senses alert. There, huddled in the underbrush, was a small dog, her fur matted and her body trembling with fear. Daniel approached slowly, his heart sinking at the sight of the dog. She looked to be in poor condition, her eyes wide with terror. He could see how fragile she was, how much she had been through. His first instinct was to move toward her, to help, but he knew better than to approach too quickly. "Hey there," he called softly, trying not to startle her. "It's okay, I won't hurt you." Luna flinched at the sound of his voice, her body tensing as she instinctively backed away. Daniel stayed where he was, squatting down to her level, keeping his movements slow and gentle. He knew that gaining her trust would take time, but something deep inside told him he couldn't just leave her there. Daniel took a deep breath and pulled out some snacks from his bag, slowly placing them on the ground a few feet away from him. Luna hesitated at first, her fear still palpable, but the hunger inside her was undeniable. After what seemed like an eternity, she crept forward, her head low, eyes still wary, but her nose guiding her toward the food. She sniffed the air, then the ground, inching closer to the offering. With trembling paws, Luna took the first bite, and Daniel felt a flicker of hope. She wasn't running away, and she wasn't growling. She was simply surviving, trying to get by in the only way she knew how. Over the course of the next few hours, Daniel remained in the same spot, speaking softly to her, offering her food, and giving her the space she needed to feel comfortable. Little by little, Luna seemed to trust him more, inching closer with each passing moment. But Daniel knew it wasn't enough just to feed her. He had to get her out of the forest, away from the dangers and loneliness that had been her home for so long. It wasn't going to be easy. He didn't have any equipment, and he wasn't sure how far Luna could walk. But he couldn't just leave her behind. For the next few days, Daniel returned to the same spot in the forest where he had first found Luna. Each time, he carried food with him. But this time, he didn't bring any expectations. He sat in silence, waiting for her to come to him. The first few days, she stayed far away, hiding in the shadows, watching him from behind trees and underbrush. Her eyes were filled with a combination of fear and curiosity, but it was clear she wasn't ready to approach him fully. Daniel spoke to her softly, trying to make himself seem non-threatening. "It's okay, girl. I'm not going to hurt you." He spoke to her like he had spoken to his own dog years ago. His words were meant to comfort, to reassure. On the third day, Luna finally took a step closer. She moved cautiously, almost as though she was testing the waters. Daniel froze in place, not wanting to startle her. His heart pounded as Luna came closer, inching toward the food he had left for her. She sniffed the air before taking a tentative bite. Daniel's hopes soared, but he knew that this was just the first step. As the days went by, Luna began to trust him more. She would stay closer to him, her body language relaxing just a little bit more each time. Daniel remained patient, never forcing her to come to him, but always leaving out food and speaking to her kindly. By the end of the week, Luna was sitting a few feet from him, eating the food he provided. Though she still flinched at sudden movements, her eyes held less fear now. Daniel had earned a sliver of her trust. After a week of gentle coaxing, Daniel knew it was time to take the next step. Luna had shown enough trust that he believed she might allow him to help her out of the forest. But the decision weighed heavily on him. He had come to care for her in those brief moments they shared each day. Luna had become a fixture of his routine, and he didn't want to leave her behind, not after everything she had been through. One afternoon, Daniel arrived with a plan. He had brought a spare leash from his car, one he had used for his own dog years ago. But as he approached Luna this time, there was a new sense of urgency in his steps. The thought of leaving her out there any longer, unprotected and alone, was no longer an option. He knelt down in front of her and held out the leash, not to catch her, but to show her that he was there to help, not to hurt. Luna eyed the leash with wariness, her instincts telling her to be cautious. She moved back slightly, but she didn't run. Daniel took a deep breath, and as he gently called her name, he lowered the leash to the ground. "Luna, you don't have to be afraid. I just want to help you. You don't have to be alone anymore." It was then that Luna did something unexpected. She stepped forward, her body hesitant but her trust in him growing. Slowly, carefully, she allowed him to loop the leash around her collar. Luna's body trembled slightly, but this time, it wasn't fear. It was a mix of anxiety and the overwhelming sense that, for the first time in weeks, she wasn't alone. Daniel rose to his feet, softly speaking to her. "We're going to get you out of here, girl. You're safe now." Luna didn't pull away. Instead, she stood beside him, allowing herself to be guided. In that moment, Daniel realized that, just as much as he had been rescuing her, she had been rescuing him too. The journey out of the forest was a slow and painstaking one. The path was narrow, and the terrain was difficult for both of them. Luna had grown weak over the weeks, her ribs visible beneath her fur. Though she had regained a bit of energy, every step was a struggle for her. Daniel kept his pace steady, offering words of encouragement and stopping when Luna needed to rest. "Just a little farther," he would say, his voice calm and reassuring. Luna walked alongside him, her ears perked, her eyes focused ahead. She wasn't running or hiding anymore. She was moving forward, taking each step with newfound hope. The sun was beginning to dip below the horizon as they reached the edge of the forest, the trees opening up to a clearing. Daniel paused for a moment, his hand resting on Luna's back. The forest had been a place of fear for her, but now it was just the beginning of a new chapter. They had made it out. And in that moment, Daniel made a promise to Luna he would never let her be alone again. When they finally arrived at Daniel's home, Luna hesitated at the doorstep, unsure of the new environment. The house was quiet, cozy, and filled with the warmth of a life that Luna had never known. Daniel knelt down in front of her, smiling as he spoke softly. "Welcome home, Luna. This is your new safe place. You're safe here." Luna stepped tentatively inside, sniffing the air, still cautious but drawn to the warmth. The room was calm, and the smell of food made her stomach growl. Daniel led her to a soft bed he had prepared for her, a small corner by the fireplace where she could rest. She lay down gratefully, exhausted from the long journey and the emotional upheaval. Daniel sat beside her, his heart swelling with love and relief. "You're home now," he whispered, watching as Luna closed her eyes, finally at peace. For the first time in weeks, Luna could rest without fear, knowing she had found a place where she would be loved and cared for. As Daniel sat quietly on the floor next to Luna's bed, his heart swelled with both joy and concern. Luna, now safe and surrounded by the comfort of her new home, had begun to adjust to her new surroundings. She ate, she slept, and she rested in the warmth of the house. But despite everything, there was still a wall around her heart. Luna wasn't the same dog she had been before her abandonment. She was reserved, cautious, and hesitant to let anyone get too close. Daniel had hoped for an easier transition, but Luna's history of fear and betrayal made her wary of any human touch. Every time he tried to pet her or sit beside her, she pulled away slightly, her eyes filled with uncertainty. It wasn't that she didn't want love, but it was clear that trust had to be earned. Again. One evening, as Daniel gently reached for her, she flinched, retreating into the corner of the room. The pain of her past, the feeling of being abandoned in the forest, still echoed in her every move. Daniel's heart sank at the sight. He had rescued her physically, but he knew that her emotional scars would take longer to heal. "Luna, it's okay," he whispered softly, sitting on the floor and keeping a respectful distance. "I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. You're safe now." His voice was calm, filled with love and understanding, but Luna remained distant. The door to her heart had been shut tight, and despite Daniel's patience, the key to opening it seemed just out of reach. Days turned into weeks, and Daniel continued his quiet efforts to gain Luna's trust. He would sit beside her, speak to her gently, and give her space to come to him on her own terms. Every moment felt like a test. Could Luna ever trust him enough to believe he wasn't like the people who had abandoned her? One cold evening, as the sky began to darken, Daniel sat by the fireplace, reading a book. Luna, who had always stayed in her corner of the room, slowly approached him. He didn't move, didn't make eye contact. He simply let her come to him when she felt comfortable. For the first time, Luna made her way across the room with no hesitation. Her body was still tense, her movements careful, but she was coming closer. Daniel lowered the book, his breath catching as she approached, stopping a few feet away. He felt a wave of emotion sweep over him. This moment was everything. The wall that Luna had built around her heart had cracked, even if just slightly. Luna sniffed the air, then looked up at him. Her eyes locked with his, and for the first time, she didn't pull away. She took a tentative step closer, then another, until she was sitting at his feet, staring up at him with her bright, soulful eyes. Her tail, once still in fear, began to twitch ever so slightly. Daniel didn't dare move. He didn't want to scare her off now. He simply extended his hand slowly, palm up toward her. Luna hesitated for a moment. Then, with a deep sigh, she nudged her nose into his hand. Daniel's heart leaped in his chest. He couldn't hold back the tears as he gently stroked her fur. "You're okay, girl. I'm here. I'll never hurt you." Luna closed her eyes as his hand touched her, leaning into the contact for the first time. The tension in her body melted away, and in that moment, she gave Daniel the gift of her trust, a gift he would cherish forever. Over the next few days, Luna's progress was remarkable. She was more comfortable in the house, and she began to show signs of the playful puppy she had once been. She would follow Daniel around the house, her tail wagging whenever he spoke to her. Luna's trust in him grew with each passing day. One afternoon, Daniel decided to take her for a walk in the park. It was the first time since the rescue that he had taken her outside, and he wasn't sure how she would react. Luna had been fearful of the outside world when they first arrived home, but now she seemed ready to face it again. He clipped the leash onto her collar, her body stiff for just a moment before she began walking alongside him, slowly but steadily. With each step, Luna became more confident, her pace picking up as they reached the park. Daniel smiled, his heart full, as he watched Luna begin to explore her new surroundings, sniffing the grass and wagging her tail. It was clear now that Luna was starting to embrace her new life, to believe in her new beginning. She wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. And in those moments of joy, as she trotted happily by his side, Daniel realized how much she had healed, and how much he had healed in the process too. As they sat on a bench in the park, Luna snuggled up next to him, resting her head on his lap. She had come so far, from the fearful dog abandoned in the forest to the joyful companion curled up beside him. "You're home now," Daniel whispered, stroking her fur, "and I'll always be here." The weeks that followed solidified the bond between Daniel and Luna. The dog that had once been abandoned, terrified and alone, had now blossomed into a loyal, trusting companion. The scars of her past, though still present, no longer defined her. She had learned to trust again, to love again, and she had found her way back to the warmth of a family. Daniel continued to support Luna through her healing process, always patient, always understanding. He could see the light returning to her eyes, the same light he had seen when she first approached him in the forest. Luna had not only survived the worst, she had thrived because of the love and care she received. They spent their days hiking, exploring the outdoors, and finding new joys together. Every day was a new adventure, and Daniel cherished every moment, knowing that they had both been given a second chance, one they would never take for granted. One evening, as the sun set and the stars began to twinkle in the sky, Daniel looked down at Luna, who was resting peacefully at his feet. He smiled softly, a sense of peace settling over him. "You're my girl, Luna," he whispered, "and I'll always protect you." As the days turned into weeks, Luna's transformation was nothing short of remarkable. The dog that had once been terrified of everything, abandoned and left to wander the forest, had slowly begun to trust again. Her once dull coat now shone with health, her eyes sparkled with the joy of being safe, and her playful spirit had returned. Little by little, Daniel watched Luna's growth with amazement. Every day she showed him just how strong and resilient she was. The first time she ran toward him with the ball in her mouth, tail wagging furiously, Daniel couldn't contain his smile. Luna had always been a playful dog, but now her joy was like a new beginning, a sign that she was finally free from the fear that had plagued her for so long. Their walks in the park became a routine that both of them treasured. Luna trotted beside Daniel, her body relaxed and her ears perked up with excitement at every new scent. The leash, once a symbol of fear and restraint, was now just a gentle reminder of the bond they shared, one that could never be broken. At night, Luna would curl up on her bed next to Daniel, her body resting peacefully beside him. For the first time in months, she could sleep soundly, knowing that she was safe, loved, and cared for. She had finally found the warmth and security she had been denied for so long, and Daniel had found the true meaning of companionship. Luna's journey wasn't just one of physical recovery, it was an emotional one as well. The trauma of abandonment had left deep scars on her heart, but the love and patience Daniel showed her allowed those wounds to slowly heal. Luna had learned once again that not all humans would hurt her, that not all humans would leave her behind. Daniel's love had proven that there was hope, that there was trust to be found in the world once again. For Daniel, the experience had been equally transformative. He had come into Luna's life not just to rescue her, but to find something he had been missing. The bond they formed healed a part of him that had long been buried. Luna's loyalty and trust became a source of strength for him, as he realized how much he had grown through their shared experiences. Every day, Luna and Daniel taught each other new lessons about resilience, patience, and unconditional love. They had both been given a second chance, and they were determined to make the most of it. As the months passed, Luna continued to thrive. She grew more confident and more playful with each day. The dog that had once been afraid of every rustling leaf in the forest was now a loving, adventurous companion. Whether they were playing in the backyard, going on new hikes, or simply enjoying each other's company at home, their bond only grew stronger. Daniel took comfort in knowing that Luna was living the life she deserved. Every time he looked into her eyes, he saw a dog who had found peace again, a dog who was no longer a victim of her past, but a survivor of it. And in return, Luna showered him with the unconditional love she had always had inside her. Only now, she was free to express it. One afternoon, as they sat together on the porch, watching the sun dip below the horizon, Daniel realized how far they had come. Luna was no longer the same dog who had been abandoned in the forest. She had transformed into a vibrant, loving companion, and Daniel had transformed alongside her. They had both healed in ways they never thought possible. "I'll never leave you again," Daniel whispered, stroking her fur gently. "You're my family now." Luna looked up at him, her tail thumping gently against the porch as she lay by his side. She didn't need to say a word. Her presence, her trust, her love, they spoke volumes. They were home. Luna's story is a powerful reminder that no matter the depth of the wounds we carry, with love, patience, and care, healing is always possible. What started as a journey of survival for Luna transformed into a story of second chances, both for her and for Daniel. Their bond shows us that no act of kindness is ever wasted, and no soul is beyond saving. Through Luna, Daniel discovered the true meaning of compassion and the strength of unconditional love. And Luna, once broken and abandoned, now knew what it was like to be cherished, trusted, and cared for, something she had always deserved. This story isn't just about rescue. It's about love's ability to heal, restore, and transform. Luna and Daniel prove that no matter how hard life gets, there's always hope for a new beginning. Luna's story is not just a tale of rescue. It's a reminder of the profound impact one act of kindness can have. This heartwarming journey from abandonment and fear to trust and love shows us that no matter how broken or scared an animal may be, with patience, compassion, and care, they can heal and thrive. But it doesn't stop there. You can be part of this change. You can make a difference, just like Daniel did for Luna. Every day there are countless animals just like Luna, abandoned, alone, and desperate for a second chance at life. Shelters and rescue organizations are filled with animals in need of loving homes. But they can't do it alone. They need your help. By adopting, fostering, or volunteering at your local shelter, you can give an animal the chance they deserve. If you're considering bringing a pet into your life, think about adopting from a shelter. There are so many dogs and cats waiting for their forever homes, and adoption is one of the most rewarding things you can do. Foster. Not ready for a permanent commitment? Fostering is an amazing way to help. Shelters rely on fosters to give animals a safe and loving space while they await their forever homes. Volunteer. If you're unable to adopt, there are still many ways you can help. Volunteering at your local shelter can make a huge difference. Whether you're walking dogs, cleaning kennels, or helping with adoption events, your time and effort are invaluable. Support local shelters and rescue organizations. If adoption or fostering is not an option for you, supporting local shelters and rescue organizations is another powerful way to help. Donations, whether monetary or in kind, go directly toward providing food, medical care, and shelter for animals in need. Many shelters also have specific wish lists for supplies like bedding, toys, food, and medications. Financial contributions are one of the most direct ways to support shelters and rescues. These donations help fund veterinary care, vaccines, spaying, neutering, and other essential needs. Donating pet food, bedding, toys, or cleaning supplies can help shelters stretch their budgets and improve the quality of life for the animals in their care. Many shelters host fundraising events, such as adoption drives, charity walks, or auctions. By attending or supporting these events, you're helping raise the funds necessary for the shelters to continue their life-saving work. One of the most impactful ways to support animals in need is by raising awareness. Sharing stories like Luna's can inspire others to take action. Social media is a powerful tool for spreading the word about local shelters, fundraising events, and adoptable animals. Luna's journey from abandonment to trust is a powerful story of resilience. Share it with your friends, family, and followers to inspire others to make a difference. Spread the message that adoption is the right choice. Highlight the importance of giving shelter animals a chance to be part of a loving family. Spaying and neutering are crucial to reducing the number of unwanted animals that end up in shelters. Advocate for responsible pet ownership and help prevent further suffering. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of the issue, but every small action counts. If you're looking for ways to get involved today, here are some simple steps you can take. Visit your local shelter and inquire about volunteer opportunities or their specific needs. Donate pet supplies, blankets, toys, or food to a nearby animal rescue organization. Share this video and Luna's story on social media, encouraging others to consider adopting or supporting their local shelters. Look into fostering opportunities with rescue groups, offering a temporary home to animals in need. Luna's story doesn't end with her rescue. Her journey is a testament to the power of kindness, patience, and unconditional love. Daniel's willingness to help her when she needed it most not only saved her life, but gave her the opportunity to live fully again. Every animal deserves the chance to experience that kind of love and care. You have power to make a difference. By opening your heart, your home, and your hands, you can help change the lives of animals just like Luna. Together, we can create a world where no dog is abandoned, no cat is forgotten, and no animal is left to suffer alone. Thank you for taking the time to watch, listen, and take action. The more people who know Luna's story, the more lives we can change. Let's spread compassion, kindness, and love, one rescue at a time.